Welcome back, Cowboys Nation. Today, I am joined by the usual crew plus a very, very special guest. We've been trying to get him on for a couple weeks, and our schedules and the stars finally aligned. We've got our man, RJ Ochoa, in the building today, live on the pod, joining Stu and Spanky and myself today. RJ, why don't you say what's up to the people real quick?
I didn't know that we were going by such great nicknames in terms of Stu and Spanky. It's great to be with y'all. Happy early Thanksgiving. Apologies. I've been sick for like a week and a half. I feel a lot better, excuse me, than my voice sounds, but I know that it sounds really crappy. So this isn't purposeful. I'm not like going through a phase or anything like that. I'm just nursing a lot of hot water tea and honey and lemon right now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, we're very glad that you could join us. We're going to talk a little bit about the Panthers today, or the Cowboys and Panthers game, sorry. And then we're also going to talk about and kind of dive into a little outlook on the rest of the season here, just because I think the four of us just talking before we started recording, I don't think we're really expecting this week to be, the most intense and exciting nail biting game that we've seen in the past. So just to kind of get things started here, um, with this game and with the Cowboys coming off of how they played last week against the New York Giants. Wow, I almost forgot. But RJ, and I'll just kind of bounce this around the room here. But what are your initial thoughts going into this game against the Carolina Panthers?
Um, this hasn't really been the case in the Mike McCarthy era, at least since 2021. Obviously, 2020 was a unique year, and Dak was hurt, and so you can kind of throw it out in terms of overall sample size. But historically, the Sunday before Thanksgiving is kind of a hairy spot for the Cowboys. Like they've played some really close games. They've had some last second field goals. They've lost this game before. It was Kansas City 2 years ago, in case anybody
Mhm.
forgot. It's tough. I mean, it's tough because it's difficult not to look ahead. Not just because it's a short week, but because of the holiday and you're making a million plans and things like that. And so I mean, getting to face the team with literally the worst record in the NFL in that spot is probably the best possible place you could be in. I know a lot of people are concerned about a trap game and things like that, and I think that is fair to wonder about or be worried about because this team has hurt all of us in the past. But for the most part, I feel pretty confident that the Cowboys are going to take care of business. They've talked a lot about wanting to become the same team on the road that they are at home. And so, what better way to kind of get a catalytic start in that sense than against once again the team with the worst record in the NFL?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great point. Obviously, with this team, I mean, I'm trying to think of the last home game that we lost. Obviously, it was last year, but was it?
It was the opener last year against the Buccaneers.
Okay, okay,
Wow.
wow, okay, so it has been that long. Okay,
Uh-huh.
yeah, gotcha. Okay, so obviously, when we take a look at the Panthers, and something that we kind of like to do is we usually talk a little bit about the offense, and then we shift over to the defense, and we do something that we'll get to in a second called our killers and our hot boys of the week. So we will let you take the lead off on that, but just in terms, I guess, of the Cowboys offense here going against a Panthers defense that, at least when you look on paper, outside of Brian Burns, not really, it really shouldn't be much of a challenge, especially with Dak Prescott playing at, what we've said on this podcast being a damn near MVP level, if not, a foot and a half, yard and a half away in Philadelphia from arguably being the MVP front runner right now. What kind of challenges do you think the Panthers could present, if any?
I mean, like you don't want to say none, right? Like
Right.
those are like famous last words. But I think that is kind of the answer in a cautionary sense. Um, I think the Cowboys did think very little of the Arizona Cardinals, and I think that blew up in their face.
Yep.
You can believe that they did want to that they chose to rest Tyron and Tyler and Zach, thinking that they could kind of get through without them, and I don't know that I fault them for that. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just it's a long season, and sometimes you have to risk things. But if you do believe that they were kind of getting ahead of themselves, I think that they've already, they burned their hands on the stove already, so to speak, this season. And I think they've kind of learned from that. And I think it does help that, there is a quick, week after this. And so they kind of have to buckle down and get to work. It helps that a lot of their players are obviously used to that, having, played on Thanksgiving multiple times in the past. So yeah. And I mean, I don't, if there's a trap game lurking for this team, it's probably Thanksgiving Day against Washington. But Frank Reich taking back the play calling, like the Panthers are really desperate. So I think, what I was really worried about last week was that the Cowboys were going to assume that they were just going to beat the crap out of the Tommy DeVito Giants, which they did, but try to work in Pollard, try to kind of treat it like a glorified third preseason game. And I feel like they kind of did that early on. The offense did struggle just a little bit. So right. This is, every point counts. Like, nobody's looking for style points right here. Just get in, get the dub, get out, get home, and everybody will be satisfied.
Yeah, I agree. It's what you talked about earlier, it's the 12 o'clock game. It's at Carolina. They're flying there, and you're flying right back. You got a short week. It is a trap game, but it's just, there's just no names in that defense. And I hate saying that. You got Derek Brown, who has lived up to its potential. Brian Burns is a stud. Their secondary has names, but they're not formidable. And I think this is a game where you try and get Pollard back into shape. You have him run down their throats, and then also you mix in Rico Dowdle, which I thought they mixed in very well last week. So I think our running game will be a huge aspect, and I want to see some really good push from our O-line, especially obviously we all know how Terrence Steele's doing and that right side of the line with him. But I think this game is a game that you go out there and, like you said earlier, we want to be the same team you're on the road. And I think this is a little wake-up call to where, like, hey, let's go out there and do it and show that we can win on the road as well. Because like you said earlier, the Cardinals, that was a terrible loss, sitting guys, which I agree with you. We should have rest them. But I do think that this game is one where, like, okay, let's go win on the road and show people that we can win on the road, and let's beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, and it's the last game they'll play on the road till like mid-December, just because they have 3 in a row at home coming up. So I think it's easy to kind of focus in that sense. You certainly hope that's the case. I love the noon kick. That really changed. I mentioned the Sunday before Thanksgiving, the Odell catch game that the Giants lost, that nobody likes to ever bring up the fact that the Giants lost.
Thank you. Yeah. David and I were both at that game.
That was the game. Right. That was the Sunday before Thanksgiving, and it was Sunday night football. And so, that just like really set their week back. And so ever since then, they've kind of been in this noon slot. By the way, Clayton, I love the poster behind you. I'm still on I'm still on Spider-Man 2. No spoilers, please. I'm still a little bit early in.
I got you.
But it's I'm only like 9% done. But it's been absolutely incredible so far.
Oh, you're gonna love it, man. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, it's a ride. It's a ride. Yeah. Spider-Man's a ride. And RJ, for our offense, obviously Dak has been playing at a level that some the diehards in the Cowboys Nation community have always known that he could play at. But it's fair to say that our passing game has been a pleasant surprise this season, but rather our running game has been the disappointment. Where is your panic level in our run game? And is that more specifically Tony Pollard, or is that more our offensive line?
I'm probably at about a 6, 7, maybe, on the panic scale. I don't believe in you've got to run to set up play action and stupid archaic things like that. But you do have to be able to run the football to beat, elite teams. You see all the elite teams in the NFL obviously are really good at that. Cowboys themselves have been, in that group for a long time. Excuse me. And so I've run out of ways to exonerate Tony Pollard. I'm not like ready to blame him, but I've just run out of excuses because the offensive line is technically a better run blocking unit than they are a pass blocking unit. And the passing game is obviously succeeding. Rico Dowdle's having success, granted in a small sample size. I know Terrence Steele has struggled, but like last week was a positive step for him. Tyron Smith has been awesome. All these, everybody wanted to come in and attack Mike McCarthy in the offensive scheme. It's really difficult to be upset with that right now. So right now, every other thing, like every other possible shield or line of defense that you could use to defend or deflect attention away from Tony Pollard is kind of, living up to its end of the bargain. And it's really just Pollard. And so I don't mean to be simplistic and just kind of, be like, well, it must be Pollard. Pollard sucks. I don't feel that way at all. But But at this point, all directions point in the same place, and it is back at Pollard right now. And so I thought it was interesting that the Dowdle got some significant usage on the first possession of the game last week. I'll be really interested to see how early and how often he's utilized against Carolina. It'll be still difficult to kind of discern anything just because, I mean, to the collective point, the Panthers probably won't pose that big of a challenge to the Cowboys. But we're at that point where like you cannot ignore Rico Dowdle anymore just because Pollard is obviously struggling a little bit.
Absolutely. And do you see us potentially shifting to a running back by committee as we had kind of in previous years with Zeke and Pollard? Do you see that maybe happening later in the season?
I don't think that they're as concerned with the price tag on their starting running back right now the way that they have been in the past.
Yeah.
Zeke was more than just somebody making a lot of money. He was, the dude on posters outside of the stadium and the dude on the cover of the program and kind of the face of the generation. And Pollard's not that. So I mean, Zeke is awesome. And anytime this conversation happens, it sounds like we're smushing Zeke or grateful that he's gone. And I don't feel that way at all. But I do think his departure liberated the Cowboys in a lot of ways that they don't have to worry about that kind of, focal point or fixture of their offense or whatever, fixture of the run game, I suppose. So yeah, I do think this is who's hot. I mean, this is this team has come way too close and has tried way too hard to live and die one way, and so that's why I do think it's reflective of something significant that Dowdle, was used so early and often last week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love that. So kind of wrapping up, I guess, talking about our offense. So I kind of alluded to it earlier, but something that that the three of us like to do when we're previewing a game is for the offensive side of the ball, we like to give our killers of the week, and it's basically just like our highlight player. We sometimes throw stats out there, sometimes we get them right, sometimes we don't. But when we get things right, we obviously make a big deal about it. I'm trying to think. We've had some notably good ones. We've predicted a lot of Deron Bland interceptions that have come to fruition. We've predicted
Ferguson breakout.
Yeah,
Ferguson.
A lot. We've predicted a lot of good ones. So since you are the guest, we want to give you the opportunity to go ahead and lead us off. Who is your killer of the week?
So this is a predictive assignment, right? Like
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So like a killer in Carolina, I guess. Nice alliteration. I guess I think this is a Dowdle game. I think Dowdle finishes, give him a C note, 2 touchdowns. Whether it is, because he gets work early, or because the Cowboys get up late again, and they just kind of need to salt the game away. I think that's kind of the direction this game leans. So I'll take Rico Dowdle, triple digits, 2 touchdowns. Probably a great daily fantasy play. I don't know that he's like on anybody's standard, roster or anything like that. But yeah, that's my pick.
Love it. Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Starting us out with some fire.
Yeah, I'll go next. I'm really interested. I don't really want to pick an offensive lineman, but I'll let the other guys take the skill positions because I probably know where their head's at. I'm interested to watch Terrence Steele against Brian Burns. This is another matchup where we saw him match up pretty poorly against Hassan Reddick against Philadelphia, and Brian Burns is kind of that edge rushing prototype where he's more speed than power. And so just seeing if Terrence Steele could build momentum, as Brian Burns is probably their biggest defensive threat to us. So I want to see Terrence Steele have a good game. RJ predicted 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, so I got to make a hot prediction as well. So I'm going to say Terrence Steele wins the matchup and doesn't allow a sack.
Okay.
I like it. I'm going to go. I think this is going to be a game where we spread the ball across the field. We go, every wide receiver touches the ball multiple times. I'm going to go with, I think, the third best receiver on the team, and I guess count Jake Ferguson, the fourth one. But Jalen Tolbert, I think he's going to have a touchdown, and he's going to have 50-plus yards receiving. I'm going to go with 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown.
I think that was like almost the identical stat line that I predicted last week, and it didn't happen, unfortunately. I guess my first question before I get super bold, just because this is a game where I think it's going to be like last week where, if you're like a Travis Kelce kind of player and you're dating, a Taylor Swift, this is a game that you tell her to come to because, you're probably going to touch the ball. Is Peyton Hendershot going to play this week?
It's unknown. I mean, they did open his window, so he could return, but they still have time. And I mean, I don't see the need to rush that. I mean, again, if we're all as confident as we are, there's no need to rush Peyton Hendershot for the measly Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, so won't go that bold, obviously. Not really sure of his status. I'll go with this is a prediction that I had last week. I'm going to say Luke Schoonmaker has a pretty solid game. I'll say like 40 plus yards and a touchdown this week. I like it.
Proving that price tag of the draft.
That's a little bold. Yeah, that's
why not? Why not? I mean, why not? We're just shooting for the stars. Shooting for the stars here. Okay, so shifting over to the other side of the ball. I guess the easy way to chalk it up is it's a bad offense and we have a really good defense. Obviously, I don't want to just leave it at that. They do have obviously the reigning number 1 overall pick and Bryce Young. They do have some capable pieces. I mean, when you look at that offense, Adam Thielen's been actually pretty solid this year. You've got a lot of capable tight ends. You've got Miles Sanders. You've got Chuba Hubbard. Where does a potential issue, I guess, RJ, in your opinion, lie with the Carolina Panthers offense and our defense?
I'd say, I mean, I wouldn't regard Bryce Young to be like a mobile quarterback, but he has a sense of mobility to his game. And I think that's where this falls apart potentially. And that's kind of what happened to the Cowboys in Arizona. I mean, and all it takes is, Bryce Young extending a play here, extending a play there, to just kind of be enough Jenga pieces to pull this thing out and the whole tower to come tumbling down, and be kind of a swing. I mean, if you close your eyes and squint hard enough, you could see a Dak tipped interception that sets Carolina up at the 36-yard line and, a crazy Bryce Young scramble drill, for an easy 14-point swing. And that's really what this is about. And I appreciated that the Cowboys didn't press on Tommy DeVito last week. They just kind of kept everything in front of them. And I think that's what you have to do here. He's obviously significally more talented than Tommy DeVito. And I know that they've fallen on some hard times. And I know it's a bit of a tough scene there. But you're right. Adam Thielen's had kind of a recessionary sort of season in his career that I don't think anybody saw coming. And so, yeah, I mean, that would be my biggest concern is Bryce Young mystifying everybody, getting hot, and having just a 5-play, day that was enough to kind of break things in the right direction for the Panthers.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that's a great point. I mean, I do just kind of want to throw this idea out there to you. Obviously, we do love to talk about the Cowboys, but we can be a little bit, satirical. We like to have fun. We've been on the train since before we played the Cardinals that Josh Jacobs is a elite quarterback. And that does vary depending on how well he plays. So, for example, when the Cowboys lost to him, he was an elite quarterback. And as of like the last 2 weeks in Minnesota, he's an elite quarterback. So this is definitely off topic, but thoughts on Josh Jacobs being elite?
I like his story. I hate when something becomes like the easiest. Like I hate that we have to hear every week that he's like it was like an aeronautical engineering major. Like I hate that. That gets super annoying. But the story's really, I think he's really relentless, and I really admire that. And I mean, it's weird how nobody, when they talk about his story, nobody talks about the Cowboys Titans game last year. Like that was kind of the first, like, hey, this dude might have something to him, kind of moment. It was way before, he beat the Cowboys in Arizona. And so it's crazy. I have a soft spot for the Vikings. I've defended Kirk Cousins a lot. I think he's a much better quarterback. I think some people are like easy meme fodder, and Kirk is definitely that. And so he's low hanging fruit for a lot of people. So I kind of like love the Vikings as a result of all that. And so it's really cool. I think Kevin O'Connell was robbed of Coach of the Year last year because the Giants have a massive media market. So I'm really happy. I feel like it's the right story for me to really fall in love with the Vikings and Dobbs. It's a cool thing. Maybe they're the third wild card in the NFC. I would really enjoy that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that I don't want to be the team who signs him to the big contract in the offseason, but I'm definitely rooting for him to go.
Yeah. And the Browns are punching air right now as well.
Yeah.
I was about to say
DTR.
that.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously getting back more to the Cowboys game. Sorry, we just had to ask. It's a bit depending. Again, it's a performance based thing, whether it's sarcasm or not. So as of right now, it's not sarcasm. He's an elite quarterback.
Serious, right.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess trying to get back to our defense, we're gonna try to run through for the defensive side of the ball, similar to how we did our killers. We have our hot boys of the week. And so we want to give you the chance to lead this off and kind of just put a button on our talk about the Cowboys Panthers game before we move into talking about the rest of the season. So RJ Ochoa, who is your hot boy of the week?
I thought this name died. So it's good to know that y'all are keeping it alive, at least.
Hot boys.
Taco Charlton would be very satisfied, I think. I'm going to go with Sam Williams. I do think this kind of is an opportunity for him. Again, you would like to imagine there's a world where the Cowboys get up big. This isn't a game that requires a lot from Micah Parsons. This is a game that sees more opportunities on defense for Sam Williams. Let's call it a 2-sack day for Sam Williams. He tweets whatever he wants afterwards, the dog, whatever, I don't care. And everybody's happy leading into Thanksgiving.
That's awesome. That's awesome. He kind of had his I don't want to say breakout game, but a game where Cowboy fans are like, damn, he's developing. Both Sam Williams and my hot boy of the week, Mozzie Smith. He's a guy that people were unfamiliar with, and obviously it's not a amazing like wide receiver, quarterback, flashy pick, but having that one tech in the system where he was Dane Brugger's number one, like most just athletically gifted college football player last year. We know he has the traits. We know he has the strength. We know he has the speed. But last week he finally put it into fruition. He almost got a sack. If DeMarcus Lawrence was a half a second late, he would have gotten his first sack of the year last week. But this is a game where I think we see a lot of Hankins, Mozzie Smith plug up the middle, stop the run, and kind of dare Bryce Young to beat us. And Mozzie Smith getting a sack would be awesome. So I'm just going to say that's my hot boy of the week and stat prediction is Mozzie Smith first sack of the year.
First career.
I was just thinking about that too as Mozzie. I'm gonna go different direction than y'all. I'm gonna go with the guy who I've been praising. I praised last year, and then I wanted him to sign a big contract back here because he deserved it, and it's gonna be Donovan Wilson. He hasn't performed that well this year, but I'm gonna go. He has a forced fumble on Sunday. So I'm a huge believer in him. Still am. I'm gonna ride till I die, until he dies. Like just all day, every day. That calf injury hurt him beginning of the year. I missed all that time in practice. I think he's just now, I want to believe that he's just now coming back to full strength. And I'm going to say he has the best game of the year so far on Sunday.
Love it. So obviously, I think collectively our thoughts and prayers are with Leighton Vander Esch and his family. Pretty devastating news. Not sure at this moment if he'll be able to continue playing football or not, which is obviously terrible. But at the end of the day, you want him to be able to spend time with his kids and his family rather than just playing a game. So I think I speak for the group there that we're all thinking about him. But on the flip side, a guy that stepped up, and I'm going to pick him as my hot boy of the week, is going to be Marquise Bell. I mean, we've said it before on this podcast. He's the most underrated player in football that no one talks about. Obviously, you don't become the number one rated, linebacker by PFF by luck or by chance. So I'm going to say it's going to be a really solid game for Marquise Bell. I'm going to say. Let's get a little frisky. Let's say a a tackle for loss and a forced fumble this week from Marquise Bell. Yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps up our talk about the Cowboys Panthers game. But RJ, we do have some questions for you, just kind of on the outlook for the rest of this season. What is your record prediction? Your final record prediction for the Cowboys?
So they're 6-3 now. I like everybody. I think that they'll be 8-3 on Thanksgiving night. I mean, I think at this point I'm not afraid of Buffalo. I've been down on the Bills for about a year at this point, which is a bummer because I'd love for them to get hot and beat Philly next week. But going to Buffalo is a bit of a different thing. I mean, I'm willing to give the Cowboys the win against Philly. I'm willing to give them the win against Seattle. I'd say they probably lose 2 of 3 against Buffalo, Miami, and Detroit, just because, I mean, they're not going to win every game. That's just the world. So 12-5, I mean, feels conservative right now. And I mean, people will be mad because that probably won't be enough to win the NFC East. But I mean, if you're 12-5 3 years in a row, like, and you're upset, like you need to have a bit of a come down to earth moment, because this is some different stuff than we've been used to as Dallas Cowboys fans.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I know at 12-5 you'd be the 5 seed there in the NFC with your prediction. And that's going to most likely going to the NFC South, whoever is there won the division there. And I mean, that just like it was last year at Tampa Bay, Yeah,
I mean, I agree with you, but it might not be the 5 seed. I mean, I wrote an article that came out today, actually, on Thursday. I know that we feel like if I asked each of you what the biggest game remaining for the Cowboys is, you all probably said the Eagles game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might not be. I mean, I would love for Philly to lose in Kansas City on Monday night and lose to Buffalo and lose to San Francisco, but they might not. And if they even if they only lose one game between now and then, that game against Dallas is not as juicy as we want it to be, just because the Cowboys can't take full control of the division at that point, even with a win. And so there's an argument to be made that the biggest game remaining for Dallas is the Seattle game on Thursday Night Football, 7 days after Thanksgiving, because if they lose that game and they beat Philly and they still wind up 12-5, they'll lose that tiebreaker head to head with the Seahawks. If the Seahawks are a wild card team, and even if the Seahawks manage to win the NFC West, I mean, they still have their 2 games remaining against San Francisco. Then that bumps San Francisco down to the wild card contention, and they have the tiebreaker over Dallas, and they both, in all likelihood, will have the common record by beating Arizona that Dallas doesn't have. So, I mean, I would love to say that 12-5 is definitely the 5 seed, because I'm with you. I would. That's, if you can't be the 1 seed in the NFC, I think you absolutely want to be the 5 seed. But that Seattle game is critical for that exact reason for the Cowboys.
Yep, didn't even think about that. Great point.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. RJ, on the remainder of the schedule, you mentioned I'm in a similar boat, thinking that we match up quite well to the Buffalo Bills. But if you were to guess, who do we match up worse against / have the most difficult time of trying to beat in Miami or Detroit?
I'd say probably Miami. I mean, I know that their defense hasn't been super hot. I mean, but they do have potential. Versus Detroit. Detroit is a 51-48 playoff heartbreak game away this season. Like, you can smell that coming a mile away, and it's going to really shatter Lions fans' hearts. And it will be fun and entertaining, but their defense just isn't there yet. Versus Miami can get there, and if they're both on their game, Miami's offense is way more difficult to stop than Detroit's. And I think the Cowboys can keep pace with the Lions and have success against them. But Tyreek Hill is just, it comes down to X factors at that point. And Tyreek Hill is the best player between the Dolphins and the Lions. And I mean, without Trayvon Diggs, I mean, I know the Cowboys secondary has hung on for most of the season, but that, and I mean, we're not even mentioning Jalen Waddle. I mean, the Dolphins, again, if you catch them on the right day or the wrong day, I suppose, that's a really difficult afternoon.
Especially with that speed, and our secondary and speed just doesn't seem like it clicks. We just don't have the speed for them, especially them. They're just a lethal group.
Yeah. I mean, you don't put up 70 points in a NFL football game by mistake. So yeah, that's a great point. A couple more questions here. So obviously we made a really interesting signing with Martavis Bryant. we all know that, obviously he's had some issues in the past. He's kind of like the offensive version of like David Irving almost, you could say, I guess, just with pure talent and potential. He's always been a guy that, at least on paper, has kind of everything that you look for in a receiver. Do you think that he could potentially carve out a role with this team similar to how T.Y. Hilton did last year?
If that happens, then I feel like something terrible has happened. I mean, I just, and it has nothing to do with Martavis. It's just, if you're at a point between, I mean, there's, 8 games remaining. I mean, we're talking about an 8-week stretch here. If something happens in 8 weeks to where you're like, we have to turn to the dude who hasn't played professionally in the NFL in 5 years. I mean, like something, I put it more in the Trey Lance box of like, you want this fun project on the side, you want to kick the tires, fine, go for it. Like you're not, hurting anybody in that process. But Brandon Cooks exists. We now know that. Michael Gallup, came back to life. I agree with you, Clayton, that Jalen Tolbert's the 3rd best receiver on the team. I'd rather see Kevontae Turpin get involved on offense. Jalen Brooks had life. I mean, so again, like if all of those options have been burned through to the point that it's like, okay, we need to get Martavis involved in like something. We're living in a timeline that I don't want to be a part of.
Yeah, that's a very good way to look at it. I mean, obviously, I mean, I think we all fully agree with you, and that's a really good way to look at it. That if he has to carve out a role on this team within the last 8 games, something catastrophic probably has happened.
Right.
So yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. So I guess next question here would be, I guess, who is a player this year that's really kind of stuck out to you and has been the biggest surprise to you, whether good or bad?
I don't blame Stephon Gilmore for not being amazing. The Cowboys didn't trade for him to be their top corner. I mean, that just wasn't the plan, and the calculus changed with the Diggs injury. But Clayton, you mentioned Cowboys speed and secondary is a bad combination for them, and he's just old. I mean, like for NFL standards, he's old, and you can see that, and you can see it because of the position the Cowboys have had to put him in. And so that's been a bit of a bummer, but I do think he's been a really valuable big brother for the team and for the defense, certainly for players like Deron Bland. I think that the proof is in the pudding there. So that sticks out to me in a negative sense. Brandon Aubrey, I think, obviously, I mean, is an incredible story. What he's been able to do is just remarkable. I mean, I don't really care for the MLS, but I feel like I have to at least give it some attention now,
Right.
because of Aubrey. It wasn't that I didn't believe in Jake Ferguson, but I think that people tend to like often misconstrue their wants with their predictions. Like every year at training camp, people will be like, I don't know, man. I just really think insert 6th round pick here is going to be amazing. It's like, okay, I fully understand that you want this to happen, but like that doesn't necessarily mean that it will. And I feel like that was the kind of bump that Jake Ferguson got. Like just by being the guy, everybody thought that he would be awesome, and it worked out. So I find eating crow there. And Dak, I mean, I wrote an article today as well. Like, I can't believe how low his MVP odds are right now, especially
Right?
like,
3,500
for like a narrative-driven award. Like, if they do get hot and he obviously plays like this as the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, like, and some of it is like it's generally I wouldn't say a newbie award, but it's a new story award. Like you don't see people win it back to back, and Dak has never won it. He's the Walter Payton Man of the Year. I mean, like again, just the odds alone are really. I mean, I live in Texas. I can't gamble, but like, man, if you can, like, that is worth throwing $10 at, like at the very least.
Yep.
I did that today, actually. Yeah, I cashed out one, put it on. RJ, if the Cowboys, let's say our final record is 13-4, 12-5, whether we lose 1 or 2 games in the remainder of our schedule, like, I guess you said you wouldn't be surprised, but does Dak win it if we go 8-1 or 6-2, 7-2 to finish the season?
I mean, a lot of it depends on the context. Like, do they lose their next 2 and then win out? You know what I mean? Like, do they beat the Eagles? You know, like some it's just what are the final records of the other MVP contenders? Do they lose more games? Like, it is stupid the way that the award kind of works and how wonky it is. But you have to kind of get hot almost starting right now. And so Dak is hot, and if the Cowboys win out, I think he has every chance to win it. It's a regular season award. People forget that all the time. But yeah, I mean, it would be cool. It would be really fun if he won, obviously. But I mean, I obviously every Cowboys fan would say this is great, but I don't care. I want them to win the Super Bowl, and it would actually be really. I would say it would be the worst night on Twitter if Dak, because obviously,
oh my gosh,
because if the Cowboys weren't in the Super Bowl, this award is given at an NFL Honors the night before, I guess now it's a few days before the Super Bowl. If Dak won and was celebrated and the Cowboys weren't in the Super Bowl, it would be just chaos on social media.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't even think about that.
That's very true.
Stephen A. Smith would have a field day with that, with a cowboy hat on, probably.
Okay, so we know you got to run in just a couple minutes here, but it's definitely too early to be looking at this. But we're obviously I guess not obviously, you probably didn't know this, but the three of us, like, we're all big college football guys. And one of our favorite things to do, just being, the football nuts that we are, is to sit down and watch mock draft videos, especially with the way the last couple of seasons have ended. It's pretty much been, watch the game back when we were at school at Clayton's house and then go home and turn on a mock draft. So that's, hasn't been the most fun thing, but they're a lot of fun when your team is playing well. So with all that being said, who are some guys that you are kind of looking at in the draft, I guess, as potential targets for the Cowboys, hopefully at pick 32 come 2024?
Yeah, I mean, it's you mentioned after months because my son's bedtime is here, and y'all will all experience this when you get to a certain age. You got to give up one. You got to give up the NFL or college football. And so my Saturdays are now spent at pumpkin patches and on playgrounds and things like that. So I don't really get too caught up on things until around January, just because of the nature of what I do. So I couldn't name a name right now, but I mean, I don't know how at this point. I know people are going to say like they would love to see the Cowboys draft a running back. Like, the Bijan conversation of last year is going to be super loud and annoying in that same sense this year, but that will be stupid. But people will fall for it because people are dumb. I mean, at this point, if you want to go and tackle, I'd be fine. It will be very interesting to see what they want to do with Tyler Smith long term, because if you want to kick him out to tackle, then you've got to address the interior. I think that's going to be the sexy pick. Some people will argue linebacker, especially because of the Leighton Vander Esch stuff, but I mean, that would be my thought process right now. They're set at corner, which is a really comfortable place to be right now, thankfully. And even wide receiver is worth considering. Obviously, CeeDee's going to get his extension, but you don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Cooks. Are they going to let Michael Gallup walk? Obviously, they're going to have to trade for Stephon Diggs. Like, that's clearly in the future at this point in time. So we'll see. Maybe that turns out to not be a need after all.
Yeah,
definitely. Love that.
Okay, so we do have a segment that we love to do, and we'll go ahead and end it with this before you got to run and put the kid to bed. Obviously, that's very important. But something that we love to do here, and we do it at the end of every show, is we do what we call our cover zero takes. Now, these are usually a little bit sometimes unrealistic. It can be either about the game or just the season in general, and we just give like a pretty spicy, sizzling hot take, whatever you want to call it. So what is your hot take concerning, or your hot cover zero take concerning the Dallas Cowboys?
I would say it's that Mike McCarthy, like, if you took every person associated with the Cowboys and like relative to like their field, like Dak against all quarterbacks or Mike against all pass rushers, Mike McCarthy is one of the 5 best people on the Cowboys at what they do. And nobody will ever give this dude credit for that. And that doesn't mean he is infallible. That doesn't mean he is without flaws. But he has completely changed the culture of the Cowboys. I mean, they've won 12 in a row at home. They kick the crap out of bad teams. They respond well after losses. We all comfortably think they're gonna win 12 games. They're gonna win double-digit games 3 years in a row for the first time since the early 90s. They're like, it's not even a question in our minds that they're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be a playoff team 3 years in a row. He has turned them into a stable, contending NFL franchise. And have they won the Super Bowl? No, but that does not mean that they're this failure. Like, he has truly been a dream of a hire, but because he has some mistakes, people want to laugh at him and poke. He's this easy meme fodder, kind of the same way Kirk Cousins is. And nobody, like, if I said the word, I chose the words that I did because if I said important, people would be like, well, yeah, he's the head coach. No, he is one of the 5 best people at what he does. Like, I'm sure this week you've all seen people singing songs about Dak and CD and Cooks, rightly so. But like, are we going to give any credit to the dude who said, I can call this offense better than Kellen Moore and then lived up to it? No, like nobody wants to give him one piece of credit for that.
You just got me so hyped up. That was awesome.
Yeah. I'm ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
I just really appreciate him. And some of it is having lived through the Jason Garrett era. And I don't say that to be negative to Jason, obviously, but people take for granted what he's doing. Like, I mean, it is not easy to do these things. And again, they might not ever win a Super Bowl under him. That will not mean that he sucked. It will just mean that it's a very, very, very difficult thing to do, and they couldn't do it. I mean, but man, he has been exactly what the franchise needed from a football standpoint.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what that might be the best cover.
Yeah.
That might be the best cover zero take that we've had, just in terms of like the most unique and creative thinking. Ours are usually just like oh yeah, like Dak's gonna throw for like 350 and 5 touchdowns. Like that was a lot more thought out and creative. So we appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with Spider-Man 2 is the greatest game of all time, but I'm only 9% in, so I can't say that quite yet.
I can't wait to start. I haven't even started yet, but it's gonna be so awesome. I'm so excited.
It's sick. I mean, like, so far it's literally just everything I could have possibly dreamed for it to be. So
that's so cool. I can't wait. You got me fired up, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, RJ, we know that you have a hard cutoff of 6:15. Go spend time with the kid. Tell him that the Dallas Ballers Club says hi, and you're actually our first guest. You're welcome to come on at any time. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this with us. Finally, like I said at the beginning, got the stars to align, got our schedules to line up. So thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us, man. It was a lot of fun talking ball with you, man.
I appreciate it. I'll definitely tell my son. He's going to be 2 next week, so we have his birthday party this weekend.
Let's go.
So it's a hectic time in our household, but I really appreciate you guys having me on. Again, appreciate your patience. Obviously, having a kid and football season is a busy time for me. All good things that I know are certainly in y'all's future as well. Anytime y'all have my information, you know where to find me. Let's catch up again in the off season as well. Y'all keep killing it with the Killers and the Hot Boys. And I expect a full 2-page review on Spider-Man 2 when y'all beat it. But I want it 100% completed. I don't want just the main story.
Okay.
Like, I want it to be 100% done.
Okay.
I got you.
We'll do.
Definitely. Thanks, RJ. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Y'all
RJ. You too. God, what a guy, man.
What a
Awesome.
stud.
That was
What
awesome.
Hey,
That was awesome.
Hey,
Yeah.
Mr. Layman, what do you think of that? Like, we just
Yeah.
did that, Mr. Layman.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I really I kind of got starstruck by that cover zero take. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that was
that
awesome.
that Mike McCarthy culture thing, like, we take that for granted. Like, Jason Garrett was fucking clapping our players off the field
Yeah.
after like some just horrific play call. Like Mike McCarthy has completely done it, and I don't know if you caught it, but he called him meme fodder, just like Kirk Cousins. And it's just like, it's so true, because it's like, if Mike McCarthy was at 210 pounds, he would not be such a meme the way he is.
If he looked like Sean McVay or like or Mike McDaniel even. I mean, Mike McDaniel's a meme, but like if he looked like Sean McVay, like no one would care. No one would think it's funny.
Like, that culture thing is such a huge. Yeah, the culture thing is just such a huge, so overlooked aspect of the Dallas Cowboys that's changed
because of him.
We would always like alternate years of being shit or being playoff teams. Like, it would alternate.
Yeah.
But
I also really loved what he said about and I mean, I'm sure we'll recap this after, but dude, how about his killer pick, man? Rico Dowdle, triple digits and 2 touchdowns. You kidding me?
Clayton's punching air right now because I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Cowboys Nation. I am sorry, Cowboys Nation. I made the decision to trade Tony Pollard to Clayton for Cooper Kupp, and I had to do it. I had to do it.
Happy.
Yeah, and I might start Dowdle. I might.
And we're playing each other, aren't we?
No, I'm playing Brady, so it would be even better to beat Brady with Rico Dowdle. But man, everything he said was pretty spot on, and it kind of definitely a more conservative. I've lived through the 90s. I've seen Super Bowl rings takes and like thought process, but it's awesome to get kind of, I believe we all think pretty alike. So it's great to think. Oh, I'm just like starstruck right now. He was awesome. Great guest.
No, yeah, that was sick.
Perfect.
That was sick. I mean, I'm very glad that he got to be our first guest. Hopefully, I mean, you know, we heard him say at the end. Hopefully we can get him back on. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure he'll be busy as hell later this season. Maybe we can get him back on in the off season, talk a little more about the draft once he's actually had a chance to, you know, kind of look at it when things slow down. But yeah, shout out to RJ, man.
Huge Spider-Man guy too.
Huge Spider-Man guy.
Sick.
Imagine he had seen your Vegas mistake on your leg. He would have loved that. Yeah.
Now Clayton's self-conscious.
No, I'm kidding.
Now Clayton's gonna go watch Stafford highlights. Thanks, Bennett.
We're not starting that today. Right. Cover zero.
Cover zero. Let's go ahead and wrap up. So I don't think any of us are going to be topping RJ's cover zero. That's probably the cover zero take of the season. But let's just do our best to try to top it. It's probably not going to happen, but who wants to go ahead and take the wheel here?
Let me go first. Not because I just traded Tony Pollard, but because I've just really liked Rico Dowdle and the way he runs. I think it's going to be closer to a 50-50 split of the backfield, not because we're lacking faith in Tony Pollard, but because we want to keep his legs fresh for the playoffs, if that makes sense. We want to.
Yeah. Are you saying this game or the rest of the season?
Rest of the season. I think we're going to be more committee. I think in blowouts, we're going to see like Hunter Lipke come in, of course, and like maybe the Deuce sighting. But I think Mike has really shown, kind of just going off of RJ, like we'll rest guys if we need. We won't rush injuries back. We won't do anything. So I think Mike is smart, and I think he's been thinking this whole season as long term, kind of like what RJ said. Like there's no reason to rush Hendershot back right now. There's zero reason. So I don't think there's any reason to run Tony Pollard into the ground. So I think we're gonna kind of just disperse the carries. And to make my fantasy trade look better, of course.
Okay, so your cover
Cooper
zero
Kupp's
take
got to shine too, though.
It's just rehashing my cover zero take from the last episode.
Okay, my cover zero take is Dak wins MVP.
Well, that was gonna be mine.
I think we.
Thanks, Bennett. You got us both pissed.
Have we said that one? I feel like we.
I said the last time I was on that Dak will finish the year.
The last time you were on, what was that? 2018, dude. Like we haven't seen you in ages.
I said it literally last Thursday. Said it last Thursday that we'd finish the year 6-1 and Dak will win MVP.
Yeah.
You can look it up. I can look it on record. We find it.
Yeah, we probably don't have to look it up on record. We'll just take your word for it.
We don't care that much.
Yeah, you're not RJ, dude. Say? Sorry.
Yeah, for real. Stop pretending.
Fuck off.
What's another good cover zero take? Oh, John Wayne Thomas takes over slot responsibilities. Yeah, that might be a more.
That I actually love. I love that.
That might be a more kind of what RJ said, want over what will happen. But I think I would love to just see him get a run. I think he's a better tackler. He likes sticking his head in there, and he's also a guy that needs to prove something and knows that. So I would love to see him get an extended run in the slot along with Israel, but I want to kind of ride with one person, so I'm going to go John Way.
Love it.
Mine is going to be, I just thought on the fly, I think it's great, is since Becky took the MVP one, whatever. It's going to be, we're going to have 4 first-team All-Pro, all NFL pros.
Can I guess them?
All-Pro watch list. Yeah.
Dak Prescott,
CeeDee Lamb,
Tyler Smith.
I didn't go Tyler.
Zach Martin.
I went Zach Martin.
And
I think.
Wait, 3 on
Micah.
offense. Wait, did you say 3 or 4?
I said 4 total.
Okay, so
Micah.
Nope.
Deron Bland.
Bland. I don't think Micah will get first.
Dude, Tyron and Tyler have like a realistic chance to be first team All-Pro. If Trent Williams
I think
didn't exist,
we can.
Yeah, if Trent Williams didn't exist, Tyron's easily the best left tackle in the league. But I think Tyler's like up there. Like it's
No, he definitely is.
I think PFF has it's like Tyler Smith, someone Zach Martin in terms of grades, which it's like if you're ranked above Zach Martin, that's just nuts. But
Yeah, I mean, got to give credit to the Cowboys and their scouting department. I remember when we were watching the draft and we said, "Who the hell is Tyler Smith?" Led the FBS,
right
led the FBS and penalties. Oh, fit right in.
Yeah.
But he's been awesome, dude. I mean,
another Doug Free thing.
Yeah, Doug holding free.
Yeah.
Show the jersey. Show the people that are watching on YouTube the Doug Free jersey. One of, I think, 2 people I've ever seen in my life that have a Doug Free jersey, and the other one might have been someone that was in his family, like at a game. So
yeah,
pretty insane.
Thanks, HK.
Never forget Doug Free's one Linsanity run year where he was like the best left tackle in football.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder what he's up to right now. Probably like chopping down trees.
That's what I was
being a lumberjack.
Lumberjack.
Yeah.
Definitely like flannel, denim, work boots, axe, just cutting trees.
Definitely should come on the pod to give us a life update. That would be cool. Doug Free, please come on the pod. Even though we just called you Doug Holding Free, we didn't mean it.
Yeah, so. Doug, I think I got an autograph of yours somewhere too. So if we could just authenticate that as well, that'd be awesome.
Dougie Fresh. Okay. So Stu, I'm not even gonna lie to you. My brain shot. What was your cover 0 take?
4 first team All Pros.
Oh, okay. I actually do really like that pick. Micah not being one of them is a lot of fun.
TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. Yep.
Do they? I guess I don't know how it gets allocated. Do they go in as like an edge, or is it like D end?
It's edge.
Edge. Okay. Well then, yeah. I mean, Garrett's a lock, and
TJ's always gonna get it.
Yeah. Unless Micah goes crazy, which he could.
Mm-hmm. Never know. All right, Burke.
Okay.
We got a softball game to go to.
Oh God.
Burke has connected franchise to play.
That's true. I do have a AFC championship
you have a draft
game
tonight.
to play. That's true. Okay. My cover 0 take, just to wrap us up here. We actually have some really great cover 0 takes on the board right now. So I don't really know where to go, to be honest. I said my piece about.
Go wide receiver. Just air one out about one of them.
Is Turpin playing this week? I mean.
Okay. Can I say a fun stat? Right now.
Oh. I know my pick.
What I said in Twitter. Carolina Panthers have the 31st ranked kickoff team, averaging 31.9 yards per return. If you're listening to this,
Devontae
you live in a betting
career
state,
kick return this week. Book it.
Just squad play.
It. That's my cover
squad
0.
Play.
Yeah. Thanks for the assist there. That was like you were D-Wade and I was Braun. Yeah. I mean, as soon as I said, oh shit, is Turpin playing this week? You were the Twitter thing, and then the gears got turning. So yeah. Go ahead, book it, take it to the bank. Devontae Turpin is gonna have his first career special teams touchdown this week against the Carolina Panthers.
Hey Berkey, is it out of the realm of possibilities Turpin has his first multi-touchdown Cowboys game?
Nothing's without the realm of possibility against the Carolina Panthers. Nothing.
Awesome.
Let's get wild. Tyler Smith, 3 catches 48 yards and a touchdown. Why not?
Tyler Smith forced fumble after a Cooper Rush pick houses it.
Who is the guy from Hard Knocks? Isaac Alarcon, who's now a D tackle. Yeah, Isaac Alarcon 6 sacks.
Depoy.
Yeah, Isaac Alarcon stakes his claim for Depoy. Has an Adrian Claiborne on Chaz Green type week for the Panthers.
Okay,
Not
sorry,
actually.
Mr. Wayman, for the last 5 minutes of just nonsense, but
Yeah.
we'll get done with it now.
Yeah. Okay, so do you guys have anything else that we want to add before we go ahead and sign off here?
No, that was awesome.
Good luck, Stu.
Thanks. I'm about to get a bomb for y'all.
Yeah, hit dingers for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Hit one for me too.
Watch?
Why not?
Want to come watch?
Respectfully decline.
Burke has better things to do, and that's to lose in the AFC Championship game.
Some are saying. We'll see. But anyways, okay. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, probably mostly gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining us today, as always. And
my mom watches.
Yeah, actually, my mom's listened to a couple as well. Yeah,
Mr. Lehman.
Yeah, hello to all the probably our relatives and parents that are watching this. Hey, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Rome wasn't built in one day. But please, as always, follow us on our socials, our Twitter and our TikTok at DallasBCPod, our Instagram at DallasBCPodcast. Email us for any sponsors or inquiries or anything of that nature to our email at podcastdbc@gmail.com. And as always, thank you guys so much for joining us today. And we will be back at some point next week. It's going to be a little different with the holidays and all that, but we will be in touch regarding when we'll be back, but it will be after a successful Dallas Cowboys game and victory over the Carolina Panthers. So, yeah, that's pretty much all we got. Thank you, guys.